In this video, we'll be looking at data analysis for second grade. The TEKS that will be covered are 210A, 210B, 210C, and 210D. The students will be working with pictographs and bar graphs in this TEK. So we have an example of each of these graphs. We have at the top an example of the pictograph, and then two bar graphs, just as a reminder that we need to make sure that we expose the students to bar graphs that not only run vertically, but also bar graphs that run horizontally. The top two graphs are good representations of second grade graphs because they are up to 4 categories. So this favorite snacks graph down here at the bottom is actually more than what a second grader needs to look at. The students will also be using graphs that have intervals of 1 or more. So all 3 of these graphs are intervals of more than 1. So that's something that we want to make sure that the students are aware of. That's new for second grade. In first grade, their bar type graphs only counted 1 for each interval that they were talking about, or each little box that they were covering in stood for 1. Students in second grade, because they don't have individual boxes that they're coloring in, need to know that this entire bar represents 11. This entire bar here, we'll do this last one, this entire bar here represents 4. It's 4 data points. There are 4 students that travel to school using the bus. In first grade, they were able to just count the different boxes and know that that represented 4, but now that the bar is all one color, all one piece, they can't see the individual little boxes to count the 4. Students are also expected to write and solve problems and to draw conclusions and make predictions, and we'll come back to that at the end of the video. We just want to look at first at some strategies that can help the students begin to understand the graph, be able to pull information out. We always want to make sure that the students look at the title of the graphs so that they understand what the graph is about. Have them look at the labels, note exactly what do these numbers stand for, what are these things here. These are favorite snacks, so these are the snacks, and that's what the label is standing for. Because the students are looking at graphs that can have an interval of more than 1, it is important that they find the key. Students could circle the key or highlight the key on the pictographs. We also want the students to note what is the interval, what are they counting by. So you can kind of take them back to when they started talking about number lines, where they would find the neighbors and they could count or determine what they're counting by here. So we want the students to know that this is counting by 2s, and they can write it out to the side or write it on the bottom, that's what this one is counting by 2s. To help the students understand or know what those bars are meaning, it's a good strategy for them to go ahead and write at the top of the bar what those numbers, what those are. So this is 6, this would be 7, this one's going to be 4. And they could do the same thing on this graph here, that this is 5, 2, 4, 7, 5, and 9. And it's just going to help them once they start getting to the questions. I know what everything is about the graph, I know what these numbers stand for, and they're not spending a whole lot of time trying to figure out where these bars are going. That's done for them. Now I can focus on the problem itself. So this is the strategy that the students can do. Although that we don't see in the TEKS about the students using some type of chart or some type of table, we know that that's part of the process standards, so we want to make sure that the students can take information from a table and put it into a bar graph, or from a bar graph and match it to a table to make sure that the information is the same. So although these tables are not in our TEKS, we want to make sure, or not in the academic part of the TEKS, they're in the process standards, we want to make sure that we have that as part of our instruction. So let's look now at the drawing conclusions, the writing and solving the problems. When we're working on graphs, we don't want to spend time just having students make a graph, make a graph, make a graph. When the students create a graph, we also want them to do their problem solving, we want them to come up with their conclusions, we want them to make their predictions. So don't just have kids make graphs and then not doing anything with them other than just, oh, we're going to display our graph. So incorporate all of the teaks together as you go through the instruction, as you go through the progression of data analysis. So we're going to keep these two graphs here. I'm going to slide this one out of the way so we can look at when we talk about writing and solving problems. So there's three types of questions students can use for graphing, where either the teacher's writing them and the students are solving, or where the students are writing the questions. And that's looking at questions that are right there. I just have to look at the data. How many students chose dog? There's 2 paw prints, so each paw print stands for 2. And I didn't add this in the strategy part, but we would want the students to include that as well. Hamsters 2, 4, 6, cat 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Include that in the strategy with the pictograph as well. Sorry. So in our writing and solving problems, students can write, or we can provide students with questions that the answer is right there. Like I said, dog, what is the number of students who chose dog as their favorite pet? The answer would be 4. How many students chose crackers? The answer would be 2. Students can also solve or write questions that have to do with comparing the information. How many more cats than dogs were chosen as the favorite pet? Students could compare the total number of one graph to another graph if you had multiple graphs of information. But they're actually taking 2 pieces of data and doing some comparing. The last one is asking questions about inferring. If these were the favorite pets and the teacher wanted to bring in somebody to talk about animals, what would be the animal that the teacher could have the students do research on? Most students chose cats, so we're going to infer that cats, a project about cats would be liked by most of the students. So these are just some general types of questions that you could use in order to help the students solve questions, but also to guide them in writing questions as well. The last part of the TEAK is where the students need to draw conclusions and they need to make predictions. This is a great chance for you to do the notice and wonder, where the students are just given the graph and we're just going to notice. We're going to list all possible things that we can say about the favorite pets graph, or we might list everything we can say about the favorite snack graph. And that's going to help us start drawing those conclusions in doing the notice and wonder, and it will allow opportunity for discussion to start making predictions. What would be the favorite snack if we had a party? What snack might be there the most? And we could probably have the students conclude that fruit would be the one that would be eaten the most by the students. So if you have any questions on data analysis, you can refer back to your instructional talk page, or you can contact us.